Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right into a classic David versus Goliath setup. You know that feeling when a small inventor goes up against a massive, multi-billion-dollar corporation? Usually, we think traditional patents are the only shield out there. But let's be real, they can be incredibly expensive and incredibly slow. So today, we're unpacking a really fascinating strategy from our sources. We're going to look at how you can actively outsmart those dominant companies and protect your intellectual property completely without relying on a traditional patent.
So here's our roadmap. We'll quickly cover the limits of patents, explore what's called the certified third way, and check out web archive memory. Then we'll dive into the burn the field strategy, look at a wild mobility 5.0 case study, and wrap up with what innovation for all actually means for you. Let's get into it.
Okay, be honest. Have you ever had a brilliant, literally world-changing idea, but you hesitated to share it just because you were terrified some giant company would swoop in and steal it? It's a very real, very paralyzing fear, isn't it? For independent researchers, scientists, and startup founders, the risk of having your life's work just swallowed whole by a massive multinational with endless resources, well, it's a huge barrier to progress.
And that brings us to the core problem. We're pitting the pure genius of the independent innovator against the absolutely crushing legal budget of a dominant multinational. Our source material really highlights this painful disparity in today's tech landscape. You know, innovation takes incredible vision, but protecting that vision, that requires an ironclad legal architecture. And unfortunately, the standard path right now is heavily skewed toward the guys with the deepest pockets.
Which brings us to Section 1, the limits of patents, and the structural traps hiding inside them. The traditional patent route is, frankly, brutal. We tend to view patents as the ultimate finish line for an inventor, right? But the sources point out some massive hurdles. First off, the financial barrier is enormous. We're talking tens of thousands of euros just for filing, maintaining, and extending. Then you've got years, literally years, of bureaucratic delays before you even secure the thing. Plus, they are strictly territorial. A patent in one country doesn't magically protect you globally. And the kicker? Even if you get one, you're still vulnerable. A dominant company can just file an opposition, bury a small startup in legal fees, and make defending that patent financially impossible.
Now you might be wondering, well, what about copyright? Can I just use generic plagiarism protection? The source addresses this head on. In the tech and innovation world, generic copyright is incredibly fragile. It's basically a weak post-event defense. If a corporation steals your idea, you have to prove prior art, meaning you have to prove you had the exact technical idea first and do it in an unchallengeable way. Without certified, globally recognized documentation, yeah, it's almost impossible to win against a giant that's already mass-producing your solution.
So, let's move to Section 2, the certified third way. This is a completely new legal path. If patents cost too much and copyright is too weak, what on earth is the solution? Well, it starts with a highly effective alternative. There's a scientific divulgation journal called Il Mondo Ideale, which translates to the ideal world. It's directed by Professor Michele Piano, and it focuses on AI, innovation, and sustainability. But here's the crucial part from the source. This isn't just a magazine. It operates as a literal intellectual property laboratory. By publishing the highly technical details of your idea in this specific registered journal, which has an official ISSN number of 30430240, you formally crystallize your technical knowledge. You establish unshakable, official authorship of your work.
Next up, Section 3, Web Archive Memory, and how we get that unchallengeable data.
So how exactly does a journal publication become a legally binding shield? It's all about institutional backing. Step 1, you publish the idea. Step 2, the magic happens. The journal's contents are systematically and digitally preserved by the Swiss Web Archive, which is managed by the Swiss National Library. And to be clear, this is not just saving a PDF to a hard drive somewhere. This is a permanent institutional archiving process. The result is what the source calls data certa, an indisputable, legally unchallengeable timestamp. Your idea is now a permanent part of the digital record, officially backed by a national institution.
The strategic advantage here is just immense. Think about it. A traditional patent gives you formal priority proof, sure, but it costs thousands of euros, takes years, and is limited geographically. Generic copyright, cheap and immediate, but legally weak. But this certified publication route, it gives you an unchallengeable date for priority proof, it establishes worldwide prior art, it's totally accessible for small and medium enterprises, and the speed of protection is practically immediate. It's a real game changer.
Which perfectly sets up Section 4, the burn the field strategy. Okay, this is the absolute secret weapon of the whole operation. The source outlines a brilliantly aggressive defense strategy called burn the field, technically known as precluding patentability. Here's how it works. By publicly releasing your highly technical details with that ironclad certified timestamp from the Swiss library, you actively make your idea part of the global prior art. Because you've definitively proven the idea already exists in the public domain, you completely burn the field around it. You literally prevent any massive multinational from ever swooping in and patenting the invention themselves. You guarantee your right to use your own invention, and you build a massive wall against corporate monopolies.
Let's look at this in action with Section 5, a visionary case study on Mobility 5.0.
To prove this isn't just a bunch of abstract legal theory, let's look at the massive scope of IP being protected right now in the real world. It's known as the Biagio model, inspired by the early 1900s Dora electric car. This modern version envisions a cognitive territorial organism, basically an entire ecosystem of smart buildings acting as energy hubs. It features a completely gas-free camper 5.0, powered by advanced lithium iron phosphate batteries and solar panels. It brilliantly tackles regulatory hurdles, like the 3.5-ton weight limit for standard driver's licenses. But the biggest leap? It proposes using existing railway infrastructure to transport these vehicles. We're talking about leveraging assets we already have. That means investments in the millions, rather than the billions required to build brand new transit networks.
The source paints a remarkably vivid picture here. Imagine this. You're powering your smart home with your advanced van using vehicle-to-home tech. Friday rolls around, you drive your van right onto a pre-existing railway wagon in Biagio. You literally go to sleep in your camper, and while the train moves across the country, the railway infrastructure provides unlimited energy to your vehicle. Zero battery drain. You wake up fully charged in Sicily, totally ready for zero-impact local travel. It's seamless. And the entire architecture, including the digital twin tech tracking the telemetry, is protected using this exact certified publication method, completely bypassing the traditional patent system.
And this Modello Biagio is designed to scale globally. It's not just trains. The documentation envisions intermodal connections extending to cargo ships, cargo planes, and get this, even future cargo spacecraft. We are looking at a planet-scale interconnectivity idea. But because the authorship and exact technical specs are legally locked down in the Swiss Web Archive, no multinational tech or transport giant can claim exclusive rights to it. The ecosystem is completely safe.
Moving to our final part, Section 6, Innovation for All and the Democratization of IP.
The source material really hits the nail on the head with this quote. This strategy transforms scientific dissemination into a dynamic intellectual property tool, ensuring ideas meant to improve society remain a protected asset accessible to all. It essentially democratizes innovation. In a fast-paced world where bringing ideas to life requires immediate action, this third way means independent researchers and small startups can safely operate in a cutthroat global market. You no longer need an endless legal budget just to secure your place in the future. And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to wrap up this explainer. If an idea's worth is no longer judged by the size of the legal budget protecting it, what will you build next? Now that the massive financial barriers to defending your genius have a viable, legally sound bypass, the playing field is finally leveled. The only limit left is your imagination. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep building the future.